Good morning, America. I just was going to say Los Angeles, was like YouTube is everywhere. We're here for our Week 14 picks. Can't wait to get into them, and I can't wait to talk about the Raiders versus Rams because, man, was that a good one. What is up, everyone? We're scooched in here a little bit, just explaining it now because this was designed for a 3-person screen, and there's only 2 of us that were able to make it to the show today. So just bear with us with the text on the screen. But as you guys see, Mike's Pick'ems Challenge, we're back again this week, giving you our picks and Joe's picks for every game this week. Last week, I went 11-4 to improve to 117.78. Joe, 11-4, just keeps copying my picks. Don't know why he does that. To improve to 120.75. And Tony Tucker, you won a week. Is this the first week you've had the highest record?
That's bullshit. I was crushing this competition for the first 4 weeks. And then I had 1 week where I went like 4-10.
And then it all fell apart. Zero's in here. Hello, Zero. Harrison's in here. Oh, man. We should have freaking sent Harrison an invite so he could jump on here. But Joe's not here this time. I don't think I can watch. Well, Joe's not here because the Raiders broke his heart. And that's what we'll talk about first here, Tony. By the way, if you guys are tuned into the replay or the live, please subscribe to the channel. Like the video. Harrison and Zero help us share this thing out. Appreciate you guys as always. But anyways, Tony, your thoughts on this game. It was an absolute mess. A lot of Raiders fans are upset at the officiating in this game. But if I was a Raiders fan, I'd be upset at my quarterback. I'd be upset at the play calling. I'd be upset that we didn't get the ball in the hands of our star players in space very often in the second half of this game.
Mike, this game was so messed up that I went on our Chargers show last night and yelled at our coaching staff who lost to the Raiders the week before. And I felt bad about it. I'm not going to lie. Like last night, I was like, I had a little bit of anxiety because I was talking shit about Staley and the coaching staff of the Chargers so much based on what we saw in this game. And then I thought about it some more. And I was just thinking, like, one thing I said in the offseason was the perfect place for Baker Mayfield was Tampa Bay or the Rams, because you're going to get to be around offensive geniuses and you need a year, because he was in the perfect spot, which was Cleveland. When he was healthy, they were actually good and he was good there. He needs somebody who gets the fact that he's limited but has talent and has that other thing that you love, which is you need somebody who's always has energy and is always locked in and cares as much about football as Sean McVay. If Sean McVay wasn't 5'8", 175 pounds, he probably would have been a decent football player. Not great, but the fire that guy works with would have been the way that he played football. So I'm watching this game and I'm like, the Raiders can't be this bad all the time in these scenarios, in these situations. And yet, once again, they proved, yes, we can. We absolutely can figure out ways to make sure that we don't design routes for Devontae Adams, that we don't like figure out ways to just put the pedal to the metal and go. Because when you watch it, it's like, wait, the Raiders should be easy to beat and easy to stop if they're only going to the same 2 players. Derek Carr only threw the ball 20 times in this game. Are you kidding me? Justin Herbert does that in a quarter sometimes. Like, he threw the ball 20 times in a game. I was just like, way to go. The Raiders suck. And by default, then the Chargers must suck because they lost to this team a week before where they put 7 points on the board. And Baker Mayfield in one of the most impressive performances I've ever seen, Mike. I never ever would have thought that not only would you score 2 touchdowns, but you would do the longest game-winning drive in NFL history. Like, that to me is impressive. And a few weeks ago, when Baker got the starting job back with Carolina, Mike, what'd I say? I said he needs to play well enough to guarantee himself a spot as a backup. And he did that in 1 game, 2 drives with the Rams on Thursday night.
Yeah, it baffles me that the Raiders just they almost let Devontae Adams get shut down. Because let's just be honest here. There isn't really a coverage to completely shut down Tay, and we saw it in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers. Now, Derek Carr is not Aaron Rodgers. Silver and Black is in here. It's not going to result in a penalty. But, yeah, it's not Aaron Rodgers, I understand. But when Devontae Adams was in Green Bay, they didn't have any other weapons that were crazy in the passing game. And they would just go to him 20 times a game, just target after target after target. That's how he got this Taco Bell brand deal. Yo quiero targets instead of Taco Bell. They were sending him all the targets. And then when he goes to Vegas, they get him 4 in the first half. He does a lot with them, and they don't get him nothing in the second half and in the fourth quarter. The offense kind of shut down. It felt like they were trying to hold on more so than put the game away late in that game. And you got to turn your head towards the coaching. And we turn the head towards our coaching all the time. There is talent on the roster. And I know the Raiders still have another season, in my opinion, to rebuild to really be a contender. But there is still talent on this roster that you should be using and scoring more than 16 points against a beat-down Rams defense like this. And if our Chargers come out and score 16 points against the Rams, I'll be just as mad. Probably more mad, actually, because I enjoyed the game.
So there's not only the coaching questions from McDaniels, but then you have Patrick Graham at the end of the game going in press man. Like, so odd. Baker Mayfield called that out at the end, like, just in a moment of just overwhelm. He's like, I can't believe that was the defense that they were playing. All you got to do is force them to catch the ball in bounds and put it on there. And now bringing pressure on that play when they have just a terrible, terrible offensive line. And Joe was talking about, I text Joe in this game, Havenstein was holding Max Crosby on every single play. Like, just go back and watch the replay. Every single one, he's got an arm around his neck because Max Crosby was beating him. My thing to Max Crosby would be like, one, you need to sell it a few more times instead of just overpowering him and eventually running through it where he couldn't do anything. You got to sell it a couple times. You just have to. The best DNs will sell a couple holdings, but also if he would have just used 1 or 2 more spin moves, he would have went in there and ate Baker's lunch. Like, it would have been bad. So that's a little on him, and maybe he develops those portions of his game and takes it to the next level. But it was really, really ugly, the amount of holding. None of us picked the refs, Mike.
None of us picked the refs. That's what I'm saying. And I say it every week that we leave this. Usually I'm just pointing at you and Joe. Like, why'd you guys take the Raiders again? So why did we take the Raiders again? The beating the Chargers gave us hope. But as Joe would say, they beat the sorry Chargers. What does it even matter, right? That's what he would say if the Cowboys won.
You start a quarterback on 48 hours of prep. You should lose. And actually, they didn't start him. I want everybody to remember, John Wolford won this game.
Yeah.
He's the starter of record. Yeah. John Wolford is a gangster. He went in.
So undefeated.
He came in, he tapped, and he's like, I need a reliever. I need a reliever.
Harrison bringing up the point, how did Baker or how did they use Baker the way they were using him in Carolina? He didn't fit the scheme at all that they were using, and he goes to LA and does better in their offense in 48 hours. And it just shows what Baker is. Baker has that DNA where he is just a football player, man. That's just what he wants to do. He has that part of the quarterback position. It's the rest of it that it's kind of God-given at times that he doesn't have.
Sean McVay went to the Super Bowl with Jared Goff.
Exactly.
He could, with the right team and a healthy defense, go back to the Super Bowl with Baker Mayfield. Like, he's that good of a coach, and they still have the pieces on defense. Like, Aaron Donald can still do enough, and they can supplement around the rest of it. Like, Rams could be fine with him or Stafford.
Speaking of Super Bowl teams, I'm on the team that's rigged to go to the Super Bowl this week. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, after last week's win against the Saints, or should I say win against the Saints? I'm rocking with them again against San Francisco, who just coincidentally also lost Jimmy Garoppolo. So we're not going to get Jimmy G beating Tom Brady and probably embarrassing him because of how good the 49ers team is all of a sudden. I'm just saying. I'm not the biggest conspiracy theorist, but I got some alarms going off. And if I start to see more happen, I'm calling them out on TikTok, and it's not going to do anything. But
wait, you're calling out the league for scripting?
scripting Brady to the Super Bowl. This team should not go to the Super Bowl this year.
The funny thing is that they actually have all the pieces, right?
I know.
You got studs on defense. You have Tom Brady at quarterback. You have 3 wide receivers that can all play. You have talent in the running game. You have coaches that have been part of Super Bowl winning teams. They have all the right stuff. They've just been a little bit off all season long, right? And this was something I talked about in the preseason where I said it was going to be a down year for Brady, and it was even more glaring once the offensive line started to get banged up. But when you come back at the majority of the year, you don't want to take a bunch of hits to your body and sacrifice your body when you know that this could be the last ride. I don't want to spend it rehabbing and getting surgeries and stuff like that. The timing is a little off with Brady, and sometimes I wonder if it's like he's saving the heroic moments where he really is going to stand in the pocket and take a shot for the playoffs. And that's where the Bucs could turn it on and light it up. We've seen teams in the past, like the Giants or the Eagles of recent memory, turn it on with less at quarterback, with a similar defense filled with playmakers. So it's there. It's there. It could happen. On the other side, the Brock Purdy situation is very interesting to me because there are certain situations that you can get into in the NFL, and I really think anybody could be the quarterback and they would be a contending team. And the 49ers are one of them. With that defense, with those playmakers, as long as they're healthy, we could easily see Brock Purdy making this team in the 49ers making a run to the Super Bowl. I don't see much of a drop-off between Brock Purdy and Jimmy G. The only difference is experience. But Purdy's going to get the opportunity to get experience, and I don't see the Seahawks putting enough pressure on them where the 49ers could lose 3 of their final 5 games. They're still going to make the playoffs as the
wild card, yeah.
As the winner of the West, because the Seahawks aren't going to catch them, right? So Brock Purdy's going to get 5 games in the regular season of experience as the starter. I think that is enough for Shanahan to prepare him for the 49ers to still be right there with the Eagles as the team that I think will be in the Super Bowl.
Isn't that insane? That this insane year is going to end possibly with Mr. Irrelevant going all the way to the Super Bowl to lose to Justin Herbert, who battled through an insane amount of injuries on his team. What a crazy end to the year. That would be wild. I would root for that to happen. What I think is going to happen is the Buccaneers are going to blitz the crap out of Brock Purdy, and hopefully the Niners O-line helps him out, and they're gonna force him to face some stressful situations. And I'm going to take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to win in those stressful situations until Mr. Irrelevant is able to handle it and show me that he's going to handle it. Now, if the 49ers come out and they stomp the Bucs like I think they would have with either of their 2 quarterbacks that went down, then I will be a little bit more in on the Brock.
Did you watch this game at all? Because Dolphins blitzed Purdy quite a bit in that game, and he did not give a shit.
Dolphins defense ain't good.
They get a lot of sacks. They're aggressive.
I don't believe in them. Not yet. It's too soon. You gotta admit that it's too soon after half a game to believe in Mr. Irrelevant over Tom Brady.
Oh, no. This, to me, it's not that I'm believing in Purdy over Brady. It's that I'm believing in the 49ers defense, the 49ers running game. Like Jordan Mason will probably have 80 yards. And you're like, oh, who's that? Well, he was a special teamer like 3 weeks ago. So to me, this is about the 49ers being a complete team ready right now, as opposed to the Bucs are still figuring things out for whatever reason that is. Like they're just not quite hitting on all cylinders. They should have crushed the Saints on Monday night. Like the Saints, I get that you know them so well. It's a division opponent. I understand all of that, but it doesn't matter. At a certain point, Brady needs to connect on these deep passes that are going a little too much. And then also he's missing reads. He's missing Mike Evans, who's got one-on-one coverage deep down the field to try and get Julio Jones the ball. At this point, Mike Evans is the better playmaker. And if you got one-on-one with Mike Evans, throw him the ball, Tom.
Yeah, we'll see how this game goes. This is an interesting one for sure because there's a lot of dynamics going on within the game itself. And Joe's on the Niners. I just want to point out that every week after the Niners win, Joe makes a TikTok saying, "You think it was impressive that the Niners beat X and X and X teams?" And my question is, at what point is it impressive, Joe? At what point is it impressive? Do they gotta beat the fucking 85 Bears? Like, what do we need? What do we need? Oh, on to this game. This is a Sunday Night Football game. I should have ordered this before I went into it. The Miami Dolphins on the road in SoFi Stadium, and all three of us are on the underdog Chargers. Chargers are underdogs at home in this game, and me and you have an excuse. We're biased.
Yeah.
What's Joe's excuse here?
I think Joe is going with the fact that he's been a Tua hater. And Tua failed last week. If Tua fails again this week, then he gets to make a video that will get him a bunch of clicks because it'll rile up the Tua fans. So I think Joe's kind of going with what he wants for his social media as opposed to what he may actually think is going to happen. In
a little bit of hedging going on here.
Yeah. To me, this game comes down to the Dolphins played a tough, very physical football game last week. And now they have to come back on a short week. And I won't say that there was like certain things that got exposed because I think that Mike McDaniel is a good enough coach to be like, oh, hey, I know that they saw how the 49ers are able to affect us. Now, I don't think that they can do the same thing. But what if they do jam our receivers at the line? And what if they do blitz up the middle a little bit more and make that pocket a little muddy and tough for him to get those easy completions? I think he'll be able to add a wrinkle. For me, it comes down to this is just a game that the Chargers have to have, Mike. And when we talked about this, you and I, privately a long time ago, when we were looking at the schedule, and I was saying the most important things that they need to get are these AFC games, and they're letting them drop. You can't let this one drop. You have to be a playoff team. All of the Chargers wins are against teams that aren't going to the playoffs. Mm-hmm. You have to beat the Dolphins this week. I know you're undermanned. I know the injury list is forever long. It doesn't matter. You have Justin Herbert against a below-average defense. Your defense just has to make a couple of plays in this game, and then you win in a shootout. And it has to happen. And I don't want any of this hero fourth down bullshit from Staley. Take points when you get them, get the ball back, and keep trying to cram it into the end zone. Make it happen.
This is one of those rare games where I think I kind of want the Finns to run the ball. I just know what they have at wide receiver. I know what it takes to stop these guys. And if Derwin James isn't going to play in this game, we might not have what it takes to stop these guys. You have to get pressure on Tua. You have to. If you don't get pressure on Tua, you're toast. Because Tua can throw an accurate football. That's not the problem. That's never been the problem with Tua Tagovailoa. So if you give him time to stand in the pocket with no pressure and throw to these freaking wide receivers, they're 4 or 5 deep at wide receiver. Guys that we could have been used all year long on our offense. And if you give him time, he's going to find those guys. It's not just Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Those are the big ones. But it goes further down their depth chart where they have guys that can make plays on Jasir Taylor, who's starting in this game. So the Chargers have to get pressure on Tua to lower the scoring. They got to try and get them into situations where they want to run the ball, even though our run defense is ass. And then just flat out, Justin Herbert in this offense with Mike Williams, Everett, Eckler all healthy finally, and Keenan Allen, they got to go off. They got to go off. It has to happen. We need 35, 40 points in this game.
Yeah, it's got to be – I don't know if do you remember the Sunday night game against the Steelers last year?
Yeah.
It was just nuts. They had a huge lead, and the Steelers actually came back in that game because of some crazy circumstances. It has to be one of those kind of performances. It has to be you taking advantage of a average to bad defense, which the Dolphins have been this year. They have not been good against the pass. And maybe they haven't been good against the pass because that's the circumstance. They're running up the score, and so teams are just getting a lot of easy completions against them. But I think many things. And you can go to the nuts and bolts and watch 30 minutes on that if you're interested in hearing more. Let's move on. Chargers win.
Breakdown. I just want to say, though, I do have a question, Tony. What's Emmanuel Acho's reaction if Herbert does have a game like he did against the Steelers last year? He had 450 all-purpose yards and 4 touchdowns in that game.
See, this is the thing is and I don't know if I said this privately or on the show. I just hope that this just ends the conversation one way or the other. Like if Tua plays better, just okay, Acho, take the win. Tua's better in your mind. Just fucking move on because you're getting really tired, bro. Like it's the fact that you are like you're continuing to be out there, and he knows what Justin Herbert is and what he's capable and what he's doing. He's using all of this shit for clicks. So if you win this one, you win the head-to-head matchup, just take it and move on and just, okay, you're right. Just be done with it. And talk about something else because you're smart and you're entertaining, but you're starting to sound just like watered down sports talk every day trying to like bring this up because you're getting clicks from the internet because everybody knows what you're saying is pointless and insane.
Yeah, and I think that Emmanuel Acho's style worked a lot better with Marcellus Wiley. There needs to be someone that pushes back on the show.
Has to.
Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. Yeah, Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp get some crazy takes, but they're going back and forth with them.
Yeah.
Emmanuel's just sitting there on his fucking pedestal, not responding to anybody that makes good points and just spitting hate over and over and over again is wild. On to the next game here. We got the Kansas City Chiefs going on the road in Denver. We're all in agreement that the Chiefs should win this game. I've gotten a lot of comments from Broncos fans. Don't sleep on us. This is a division rivalry game. I got some bad news for Broncos fans about this one. This is going to be a blowout. But what's your thoughts, Tony?
I agree with you. I think that this game is – I think this is where we finally see, like, the defense be like, we just can't do this anymore. Yeah. Like, we've kept it in so many games. And I do think that it is a rivalry game. And I think it could be close for a little bit too, right? You get that all of a sudden it's like, oh, Patrick Mahomes, we can shut him down. Oh, let's ride all the bullshit they've been saying all year. But then when they hit Travis Kelce, or he does hit MVS on a long busted coverage or something like that, or Isaiah Pacheco is able to, hit a gap and go for 60 yards or something like that. And all of a sudden the score, which was close at 3 to 4 points because the offense is never getting anything but field goals. It's like all of a sudden the defense just lays down and says, you know what, we're tired, we're beaten up, and we're fighting, and we're fighting for an offense that maybe you guys are trying, but you suck, and we are tired of sacrificing our bodies for it. And I think in the second half we see some people being like, you know what, I don't really want to make that tackle. Like my body hurts. Like I'm just not going to do that. And the Chiefs end up winning this game pretty big to me.
We're approaching that territory. And I think we're also approaching the territory for the Chiefs if the Bills lose a game or two more and the Chiefs, win the next couple of games against matchups that they should win, where the Chiefs are going to start taking their foot off a little. Be like, all right, let's start worrying about health more than anything going into the playoffs. But this is a big reason why I don't think the Broncos have any shot in this game because it's 23-10 to the Carolina Panthers. And we're not talking about a fluke game. We're not talking about Denver playing good most of the year and then they drop one to the Panthers like this. This is a pattern. The team is bad, and the Chiefs are probably hungry and way better than them. It's that simple. And the matchup is the Denver defense versus the KC offense, which I think the KC offense will win that matchup 6 out of 10 times. It's a good matchup. It's going to be close to 50%. But the Denver offense sucks, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't at all. They can't score more than 20 points against even bad defenses.
Yeah, I mean, when you're a defense and the other team gets to 13 points, you're like, fuck, we can't win the game anymore because we can't score more than 17 points in this game. Yeah. Like it would be, we, as the defense, we have to start scoring touchdowns just for it to be competitive. This person put, it won't matter because Russ is going to throw 3 pick sixes. If Russell Wilson throws 3 pick sixes in this game, I believe that Broncos fans start rioting and throwing shit on the field.
They might, yeah. Yeah, I have a TikTok ready to go. It's in the drafts, and I'm just waiting until the perfect week to drop it, where I'm going to compare Russell Wilson's stats to Drew Lock's stats the year that he started, and it is shocking. All right, Drew Lock threw more interceptions, but it is shocking. Drew Lock gave them more of a chance to win in games that year than Russ is this year, and they traded freaking the whole house for Russ. On to the next one here. We got the Carolina Panthers on the road against Drew Lock's Seahawks. Look at that. We're all in on the Seahawks. Harrison, close your eyes. I do think the Panthers have a better chance in this game than some of these other games that we've talked about, though, where we're all on one side. Because the Panthers' defense has kept them in some games this year, and they deserve a ton of credit for the heart they've shown despite struggles at quarterback and on offense. And I think that they're going to stick the Panthers in this one again this week. But what's your thoughts?
Harrison, I'm so sorry about this, brother. This was one I struggled with because I was looking at it and I was like, you start looking at the injury report. Now Kenneth Walker's gone, right? And like the one shining spot of the Panthers, in my estimation this year, is that Burns has still been a player and they look justified in not getting rid of him because it is tough to find edge rushers of that caliber. J.C. Horn has played really nice. And now it's like, can you heat up Geno Smith enough to where he's off a little bit? Yes, that's why. You know what, Harrison? Let's do it.
No, wait.
Let's do it. Wait. Because Harrison makes a good point. He makes a good point.
What was the point? Tell me the fuck, bro. That's the point.
The fuck, bro. The fuck. You say Harrison. So little, but you say so much, Harrison. It's right there.
Put a convincing point. Put a convincing point in there, Harrison. We want your take on this.
It's the way he said it. It's the way he said it.
Well, I feel the same way as you guys. I think that the defense, without Kenneth Walker, could shut down the Seattle offense.
Okay, so but I did it first, Mike. You can't piggyback on the bond that
I did it first. I introed the whole thing to set up this whole entire conversation.
Listen, Harrison and I are a couple of redheaded guys from Carolina. We have many things in common, and the Panthers is number 3.
And I'm looking around, and you're only 2 games behind me at this point. I remember being in first and bragging every week. What the hell happened?
Well, Panthers over the Seahawks. I just changed it up.
All right, Tony's going with the Panthers. Me and Joe are on the Hawks.
Go ahead.
Hi. On to the Vikings in Detroit against the Lions. And, of course, Joe is with the Lions here. The Lions are on a 3-game winning streak. But I'll say it over and over and over my entire TikTok career, YouTube career. Every time I've gotten a microphone and talked about the Detroit Lions, they're going to fail. They are. Tony, how bad do you think they failed this week?
Okay, this is another one that I was really, really close on. But for some reason, I think the media hype is going a little bit too far in the opposite direction, right? Where it's like now all of a sudden people are just keep getting behind the Lions to a point where I'm like, yeah, they're good and the numbers say they're good, but still like winning with the expectation of winning is a different level of where that they need to get to. And that's what we want to see from the Lions. People are expecting, Vegas is expecting them to win the games. I think they expect themselves to win this game. Now you have to come out and execute in that scenario. As to where I think the Vikings have already gotten to that point. I think the Vikings are thinking, we're underdogs to the Lions? Are you kidding me? Like, we're being disrespected in this nature? Like, we're 10-2. We're winning close games because we have fight, because we have grit, mental fortitude. Like, we push through these moments and we get the dubs. And that's all that matters in the end. And I think late in this game that comes down to a field goal. And I think that field goal ends up being with the Vikings, something like, 28-27 type of a football game. And we see a heartbreaker and it's sort of same old Lions bullshit. And it doesn't mean that the Lions aren't getting better, but I do think that there is something to be said that you have to learn how to win with the expectation of winning, with your own personal like they're coming in not as the underdogs for the first time in a meaningful game in a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm with you for the most part, except for I don't know what this is going to happen. I just seen this replay so many times. Every time the Lions get your hopes up in this Dan Campbell era, there's been a letdown. And everyone is on the internet talking about the Lions to the playoffs right now. I can't get in with that conversation. I think that this game, either the Lions are going to start hot and go up 17-6 into halftime and blow the lead, or the Vikings are just going to put the hurt on them from the jump. I don't know how the game is going to play out just because the Lions are kind of unpredictable, whether they're going to show up week to week at this point. I don't think they're going to win. It is weird that they are favored over the Vikings. I guess it's the home field advantage gets it for you. Harrison's saying here, to go back to the last one, that when Sam Darnold's had a good old line, he's been all right. Me and him were talking in a text chat earlier in the week about it. He was bringing up some good points, but he said he thinks it's going to be high scoring 28-24 Carolina over the season.
Yeah, I do think this game has some points in it. I think Deonta Foreman can have some success in this, and it's going to come down to Sam Darnold not making mistakes for that Panthers game. But in this other one, in this Lions, so technically the way Vegas does the Lions is 3 points is afforded to the home team. So yes, yes, you have the Lions are favored by 2 points, but technically it would be that the Vikings are still kind of the favorites, even though they're not in the in the column. Yeah, so like the Vikings right now, I think are like +2, +2.5 or whatever. But usually the home team gets a 3 point, -3 at home. You start there, and so the Lions are not at -3, so they are favored, but not really.
Well, in this scenario, that Top Shot Lighter is pointing out 53-52 Lions, the Vikings would cover. So there you go. Everyone will be happy in this situation. All the Lions fans want them to win. They would win. And all the Vikings fans, or all the people that put money on the Vikings, will win their money. And it's a win-win scenario. So we'll root for 53-52 Lions. That'll be a fun one. It'll be like Jared Goff versus the Chiefs all over again. And then
that would be the best.
That would be the best. And then Josie, did I miss the Walker Talk? I'm not sure what you mean by Walker Talk, but I see that logo right there, Josie, and we would love for you to subscribe to the channel so we can keep overrunning the Raiders fans here on this channel. Appreciate it.
Love the logo. Walker, Kenny Walker? Is that what we're talking about?
I don't know.
About Travon Walker needing to step up and try and go get this Rookie of the Year for me?
Oh, maybe. Anyways, on to this game here. Pittsburgh on the road in Baltimore. Ooh, going with Tyler Huntley and the Ravens, huh, Tony? I'll let you give the take first on this one.
Oh, Mike, you're going to like this take right here. Yep. This is the start, I think, of a 2 to 3 week stretch where the Ravens realize we're trading Lamar Jackson this offseason. We are going to use draft picks to either get a new quarterback, or we're going to know that we have enough to go forward with Tyler Huntley. Because here's the thing. They're thinking about he wants something crazy like $250, $260 million guaranteed, right? But it'll now be back-to-back seasons where injuries could have potentially kept the Ravens from going to the playoffs because the quarterback style lends itself to more injuries or makes him less dynamic because of the lower body injuries that he has. So I think that they realize, oh, Tyler Huntley can play, because I believe that. I believe that Huntley can play in this offense, and if he gets all the snaps and reps, he's going to find a way to win this game. It'll be ugly. It'll be 19-16 Ravens or something in the end, but I believe Huntley will win this game and a couple other games. Lamar Jackson's not going to lose his job this season, but it's going to allow them to say one of two things. Either we lost with Tyler Huntley and we're losing because Lamar Jackson has not been available for 2 consecutive years because of lower body injuries, which is what his moneymaker is. And you want me to guarantee you that kind of money for the next 5 years when you had back-to-back years of having these problems? Not going to happen. That's not how the Baltimore Ravens do not do business like that. And they will not. And then the other side of it is if they're winning without him, it's like, well, we have the next Lamar Jackson for $1.2 million, and we could go get defense, and we could get offensive line, and we could do the stuff that Baltimore Ravens football does, as opposed to committing to this quarterback who we love. And it'll be, they'll ask him, hey, which teams are you looking at? Who do you like? Where would you might want to go? And let's try to work out a deal with the team of your choice, but it isn't going to be here. So I think we are now seeing the end of it. And my belief is that Tyler Huntley will play good enough to be able to come in next season and be competing with either a veteran or competing with a rookie to be the starter of the Baltimore Ravens next year. I just think Tyler Huntley is a good enough quarterback and to command respect from the team, get reps, and win games the way the Ravens want to win games.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're mapping out a lose-lose scenario for Lamar here. Well, he'll get his money and just be somewhere else.
This is a win-win for Lamar. Lamar's getting paid. It's just not by the Ravens.
Yeah, and especially with the Ravens in a situation where they've seen Tyler Huntley on the field and the results. Yeah, Lamar is better than Tyler Huntley. He's better with the football in his hands. He's a better thrower than Tyler Huntley. But they've seen Tyler Huntley in this offense, and they see how they can make it work. Like that is visible when you watch the games. I think that they are going to make it work in this game. I just really like the way the Steelers defense is playing. I like the way the offense has come alive and it started to lessen the turnovers. You could tell they got in Kenny Pickett's ear. Mike Tomlin probably wasn't gentle either. Kenny Pickett has changed a lot from his first game, his second game, his third game to where we are now in the season. And just keeping the turnovers down alone, even though he's not making flashy plays, he's just not making those dumb 3 interception games that basically cost the Steelers the game. He knows that he has a defense now. We're going to get the ball to George Pickens. We're going to kick these field goals, score our touchdown or 2 a game, and we're in it. There's been a few weeks where the offense has even gone off with some help from the defense. So I think that the defense plays well in this game, keeps it low scoring like you're thinking, and the offense just does enough to squeak one out over the Ravens. Joe's with me on the Steelers as well. We'll see how this game goes.
One other thing about the Steelers, I didn't really talk about them at all. I'm now seeing a trend. It is easier for young quarterbacks to succeed for 2 reasons in certain scenarios. And one is obviously a coaching staff and development, right? Green Bay had back-to-back Hall of Fame quarterbacks, right? We're seeing in Pittsburgh, they had Roethlisberger that was there. If you have good coaching in these areas and they allow you to develop, it's really, really helpful. It also helps to not be in one of the major markets, because like in a place like New York, it's super tough to win because the fans and the media and everybody's extremely critical and crazy and on top of you all the time. If Kenny Pickett went to the Jets, I'm not sure that he'd be faring much better than what Zach Wilson or Sanchez or Darnold or what anybody else got, because it's constant. Everywhere you go, it's like, you suck or whatever it is. Not in Pittsburgh. The fans back you. The organization backs you. They believe in you. Like, I don't really think Kenny Pickett's played like great football, but I believe that he's capable of it and has the support of the town, the coaching staff, his teammates. It's not like that when you go to these other places. Same thing in Green Bay. Like, Jordan Love has a real chance to succeed. Maybe not at the level of what the last 30 years has been at quarterback, right? Think about, like, for the Chargers, good string of quarterbacks, small fan base, not a lot of media coverage. They just support the guy that's in there. Now, Justin Herbert's a freak of nature, so it's pretty easy. But Breeze, Rivers, like, it just goes on and on and on. Like, I know people don't remember Stan Humphries. They've had good quarterback play for 35 years in organizations where it's like, hey, you get a soft landing spot and support, and you have a better chance of success. And I think we're seeing that with Kenny Pickett. And if I was a quarterback, I would want to land in one of those smaller, kind of tight-knit situations. I think you just have a better chance for success.
Yeah, and all Mike Tomlin wants out of his players is guys that are going to respond to his coaching, because Mike Tomlin's figured it out. He knows how to get quarterbacks to play the way that they need them to win, and defensive players to play the way they need to in the scheme to get them to win. And if Kenny Pickett is responding, which is what I think is happening, to his coaching, that's a good sign for Steelers fans. He doesn't look phenomenal, but he's responding and improving. That's all you can ask for from a rookie quarterback being thrown onto a team that is good, but you could tell the offense needs some rebuilding, especially along the line. That's what impressed me so much, the take that you just said about the 2020 class, is that all these quarterbacks, Tua, Hurts, Herbert, Burrow, they got drafted into mucky situations that needed new coaches, that needed a coaching change early in their careers, and all 4 of them kind of survived it. And it's pretty impressive. That class is going to go down as one of the legendary ones.
Yeah, it's definitely like the trajectory is headed in that direction. But just think about, like, Chicago. They've never had a good quarterback. Yeah. It's a big city and it's tough to be there. The Jets haven't had a good quarterback for years. The Giants were lucky enough to get a Manning, where that's like the sign of stability, and he was still a 500 quarterback there. He still had to deal with all the mouth-breathing jokes for all those years. It's just like when you go to those big places, even in a place like Miami, they've struggled to have quarterbacks. These big cities where you get crazy media and sometimes the fan bases are a little violent. The Eagles have struggled to have good quarterback play since Donovan McNabb. Like, it's not a coincidence that these big cities and crazy media places, they'll eat you alive.
It's hard to stick there. Yeah, it's hard to stick there and get the support that you need to, and the patience really needed to succeed. This is opening another can of worms, so we'll keep this quick here. But Harrison's saying trade Lamar to Carolina. I think this isn't crazy. This isn't crazy. Lamar probably doesn't want to go there, but he may kind of want to go there. The defense is good. DJ Moore is there.
Yeah, I could see terrible. A scenario in, where Pete Carroll would love a Lamar Jackson, right? Yeah. Like because what he wants to do is play defense and run the football, right? And he knows that similarly what Lamar wants to do. I'm not sure that DK Metcalf loves that idea, but also it would be nice, Lamar Jackson throwing it up to DK Metcalf. That would be good.
That's the style receiver he needs, in my opinion. A DK Metcalf style guy, a big body that he just needs to get the ball in the area. He doesn't necessarily need to be pinpoint accurate to complete passes. I think another place that would be interesting is Tampa. I think him and Mike Evans will do well together. That offensive line will get healthy and come back. It just depends on how willing is Tampa to change from the least mobile quarterback of all time to one of the most mobile quarterbacks of all time, like completely change the entire offense. What other teams will be on the table? I think
the thing with Lamar Jackson makes it easier because when he's healthy, he's a cheat code. Because it's not like you don't need as much of the timing and everything else. Like you can design plays and design runs to make Lamar Jackson just be lethal. It's not like you have to have this almost symphony-like offense with Tom Brady. Everything has to be beat out. Yeah. Like everything what it is. Well, Lamar Jackson, it's like, hey, we'll drop back on this play, but I'm about to fuck you guys up because I'm Lamar Jackson. It was what we're seeing with Justin Fields. The success Fields has is not like plays they're drawing up. It's like, I looked at my first read, second read. Oh, shit, I'm the best athlete on the field. I'm taking it to the house 68 yards, and all you suckers can eat my dust.
I think Detroit would be on the table maybe for possibly sending in a package trying to get him. And the biggest one, James just brought it up. I'm glad that you brought it up. And we'll move on. Trust me, guys. There's a lot of interesting games this week. There were a lot of good games last week. This week, it's the narratives and the storylines going into the games that are really interesting. The Jets with a healthy Breece Hall. Their offensive line has gotten better this year. I think Robert Saleh and Lamar and their egos and their style match up perfectly. They're both fiery players, Saleh's a coach. Lamar's a fiery player. I think that's a match made in heaven for Lamar. That's where he should want to go. And the market's huge for him.
Great take. Great call, James Lopez.
James, he's got it. Make sure you subscribe, James, if you're not subscribed already. How many miles does he have left? Tony's brought this up multiple times. I think he's got another contract at least and probably continuing into his later years. It just depends on the health because it's 2 years in a row. If you make it 3 years in a row, now you're all of a sudden a problem.
I think his career maps out like a running back. Can he be effective into age 29, 30, and then it starts to add up and wear and tear on the body? Where he's just messing with me.
Yeah, this was not said. Yeah, the Lions, they're saying they already had Cam. They're very different styles. Cam's a power runner. Lamar, agile. Let's go on to the next one with its own little set of storylines, Tony. The New York Giants tied with the Washington Commanders this last week, and they play the Washington Commanders next week. The Giants drop this game, and then they lose to Washington next week. It's looking ugly for them after a great start to the season for New York, like an unexpected great start to the season for New York. Obviously, Philadelphia is a hard team to beat. There's a lot on the line, I think, in the next 3 weeks for the Giants and their playoff hopes.
Nothing's really changed other than they got the coach right. They got they got right. I think it's the most interesting thing to me is what they do with Saquon Barkley. Like, do they think that because if you ask Brian Dable, he would much rather bring in a quarterback and just sort of look at the running backs that they used with the Buffalo Bills, like Devin Singletary while he was there, and they had J.D. McKissick or something at one point, and he's not really that focused. But he's a smart enough coach to know that Saquon Barkley is maybe the only good player I have on offense. And so I'm designing stuff to be able to score points and win games. And I think that they overachieve so greatly. Like Brian Dable, no matter what the record is, I still think should get votes for Coach of the Year. Because this Giants team isn't very good, isn't super talented. And if you really thought about it, you're like, what do they do really, really good that's making them be a plus 500 team? You can't really identify it. Yeah. They're not really great at running the ball. They're not great at passing the ball. Their pass defense isn't shut down. Their run defense isn't shut down or whatever. It's just really well situationally coached football. And that's what you want. You want Brian Dable for that situation, but they're going to be able to continue to load up. all the young guys they have on this team, Ojulari and Thibodeau, all these guys are going to get better. Now you need to bring in receivers and you need to find the quarterback. I think the one answer we do have is Daniel Jones. He's just not the guy. Even when he's playing really good, it's like it's not enough. And I'm not giving him crazy money to be my quarterback of the future. I think he's a really good backup quarterback. He's just never going to be – it's not somebody I'm committing to for 5 years to be the leader of my franchise.
We've seen Daniel Jones' ceiling a couple times in his career already. We've seen him play at his best for multiple games in a row, and it still isn't really that. It isn't like this insane quarterback, even at his best. So, yeah, I agree with you on that take. I agree with you on the Giants being kind of confusing. It's like confusing like the Seahawks too, except for the Seahawks, you know that it's coaching because it's Pete Carroll. So the Giants, the only thing that makes sense to me is coaching. The reason that they have a positive record right now is because early in the year, they showed guts, man. They were in a lot of close games that they were expected to drop, and they just gutted them out by 5 points, 3 points, touchdown, late game touchdowns. So, and that I think does correlate back to the coaching. So the Giants are going in the right direction as long as they can get the right roster construction for Brian Daboll out there. I just think that they're a way worse team than the Eagles. The Eagles are so complete on the opposite of the spectrum. Like they're as complete as a football team can be in the NFL today.
Yeah, the Eagles it's so interesting because I had the Eagles winning this division, right? I felt like they made the leaps, and then everything they did in the offseason suggested to me that if the coaching staff was adequate, they're taking the next leap and winning the division. Because they went out, they spent on defense, they trade for a big-time wide receiver, they're setting up their young quarterback to succeed with a loaded defense in a division that we thought was going to be worse than it is. We all thought the NFC East would be much more below average. They've been above average, and they're still the cream of that crop right there. So, like, what the Eagles are doing is extremely impressive. I don't think it's going anywhere, and we're getting to see them at home in a game that, like, they can start to not sew up the division, but be pretty close to being like, all right, we're going to be likely going to be the 1 seed. We have tiebreakers with these other teams. Like, let's move on here. Like, let's start thinking 1 seed playoffs. And now you get to that point where it's like Jalen Hurts, first round bye, second round. Don't have yourself a Ryan Tannehill, Aaron Rodgers moment of last year.
Oh boy, hopefully not.
Philly would go nuts.
I really root for Jalen too. I think that his journey to the league and his journey to being in the position he's in right now it's something special that only happens in the sport of football. And we started raising the alarms to this very early. After that draft, when we saw them get Jordan Davis, get AJ Brown, like we left that draft. Free agency had already happened. They added a bunch of players. We were like, damn, if Jalen Hurts continues to improve, this team's going to be good. Saquon might not play. I did see the news on that. He's probably going to try and gut it out because there's a lot on the line for the Giants in the next couple of weeks. But if he doesn't play, should the Giants forfeit?
They just roll their helmets out there. They're like, yeah, good game. Brunch, anybody? Let's do this.
Would you go Nico Collins over Marquise Brown because Brandon Cooks is not playing this week?
Nico Collins is also out. I'm starting Philip Dorsett in a very deep league where there are no other options. It's like Richie James and a couple other guys, and I ended up picking Philip Dorsett. I would not start any of those guys over Marquise Brown. Play Brown on Monday night and hope that he benefits from some single coverage deep downfield against rookie DBs for the Patriots.
Exactly. And I think that the Cardinals are actually going to have like a sneaky good game in that game too. So I would go with Marquise Brown as well. He's talking about the Seahawks winning last minute. Yeah, both these teams, they've shown a lot of guts this year. All right, on to this one. Cleveland on the road in Cincinnati. I'm pretty comfortable with this pick. I think the Bengals are on a hot streak right now. It's pissing me off that they're on a hot streak. I'm kind of now rooting for the Ravens to fall off for our Chargers wild card hopes. This game just seems like the Browns are going into Cincy. They're going to give their best effort, but we all kind of know what the results are going to be. Deshaun Watson just isn't up to speed yet.
So he's 0-4 against the Browns, right?
Yeah.
Joe Burrow's never beaten him. That shit stops this week.
Yeah.
Here's the thing that does start this week. Joe Burrow And the last time I said this, last time I came on here and I said, this person will become the front runner for the MVP race. I did it 3 weeks ago when the Chiefs were playing the Rams. Remember I said Mahomes is going to stack up numbers in this game and he's going to be the MVP. I'm going to do it again. Joe Burrow will leave this game as the MVP frontrunner. He will have won head-to-head matchups against the right teams. He will be rolling. The numbers will be continuing to pile up. I don't see anything last week that says that the Browns offense is going to function that much better with Deshaun Watson. And the Bengals are just better. I just have to I've been trying to hate on the Bengals quietly and appropriately at the right spots. I can't do it anymore. They're so good. It's a little frustrating for them to be this good, this fast, because I don't really see a huge difference between them and the Chargers other than coaching. Like it really just comes down to it where it's like, I look at the defensive side of the ball, they don't even fucking want Jesse Bates, and he's still there just making like wait, we just gave Derwin James all this money, and our coach has the 30th ranked scoring defense in the NFL. Come on, bro! Like you got to help out Herbert better than that. But I'm going to change it to, like, instead of finding ways to just be a little begrudging against the Bengals, and I will not cheer for the Bengals. I don't even care if the Sports Hines dude is in here himself.
I was going to say, look at the timing. He heard us.
I will not cheer for the Bengals. But
like just sitting here, he just turned on Navy Army, which is about to kick off, y'all. I suggest everyone go and watch it. He just kicked on Navy Army, and he's like, huh, what do I hear? Is Tony talking shit about the Bengals? I need to go to the YouTube channel right now. But he even says Mahomes is the MVP. I agree. Mahomes is the MVP right now. But what Tony's saying is that this is a game that could launch Joe Burrow into the combo. I mean, Joe Burrow's had 5-6 touchdown games before against bad defenses like this. And I think that storyline of the Browns always beating the Bengals, seeing that all week, that motivates a guy like Burrow. I don't know when the conversation became Tua versus Herbert. It's Burrow and Herbert are still the best quarterbacks of the class. Those are the two that I think are competing for the top spot.
I think some people just took Burrow out because he went to a Super Bowl, and they're like, well, he's clearly won.
Yeah.
Now who's number two? And it's like, to me, it doesn't matter. Like, they're all four of those guys are really good and going to be good and going to be competitive. And I think if you ask me which one has the advantage, it's Jalen Hurts, who doesn't have to see any of them potentially until a Super Bowl, right? Like at some point when we start to play it out, he's the one who's like, well, I'm never going to catch that person in a championship game. So my MVP conversation doesn't include Tua in it right now, right? Like, because I think almost like, to me, I would split a vote on that team between Tyreek Hill and Tua. Like what Tyreek's done this year has been absolutely crazy. Tua's missed a couple games. I think for me, it would be probably Mahomes. Ugh, I hate fucking saying that out loud. Burrow, don't like saying that out loud either. And Jalen Hurts kind of in that 2 spot. And then Justin Jefferson. We need to talk about like what the guy's done, what he's done for the team, and have other players that aren't there. Like there's a scenario in which we have this game on the screen right here. I would consider saying like Micah Parsons should be talked about in an MVP discussion because of all the things that he does, in my opinion, for the defense of the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, the thing is if we're ever going to change this precedent that only quarterbacks can win the MVP, we have to start giving the MVP to other positions. Even if Mahomes is this is a Mahomes year. He's just having his normal year. Like, I know he could win the MVP every year at this point. It's like a LeBron James situation. Are we going to give it to LeBron James every year for his entire career? No, let's diversify a little bit. I would love if Micah Parsons has the sack totals, has the coverage stats, has all this stuff that puts in his package. I would love for Micah Parsons to win the MVP. I would.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with factoring in story too. Like nobody thought the Cowboys defense was going to be this good.
Yeah.
And I think what's put them over the top, yes, their offense is scoring, but their defense is also scoring points. Like their defense is crushing teams. And I think he's a big part of where the Cowboys are. The Cowboys are probably still a playoff team, but do we think that they're still competing for the 1 seed without Micah Parsons?
No.
That's an MVP in my book.
And I love Micah Parsons, and I'm becoming more and more of a fan of his with everything that I see on him. But at the beginning of the year, we talk about it a million times. The Cowboys started off bad, right? They had a loss in their first game. Micah Parsons was lined up to go on a weekly show. I think it was with Cowherd or Skip.
No, he was supposed to go Skip and Shannon.
Anyways, every week he was going to go on like these other players are going on. And he didn't show up and told Skip Bayless, and Skip Bayless put it out because Skip loved this also, even though he denied his own show, was like, this dude is locked in. Like, he basically threw away all this money, threw away this exposure to our huge audience because he wants to focus on winning football games more than that. I mean, I just love to see stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it's good. This game is, to me, is like the guaranteed lock of maybe of the decade for a win.
How many points are the Cowboys going to score? Probably 40.
Yeah, and they've been running up the score on everybody. Like they have like several, I think 38 plus points in several games this year. Like the defense is scoring, the offense is scoring. All they need now is Kevontae Turpin to just house one.
If they smoke someone in the first round, Tony, I'm going to be so annoying. I'm telling you right now. Because I want to see this team in the playoffs now that the defense is this good. I want to see what they do now because they've always choked in some way, shape, or form. But I think that this defense could carry a bad offense, let alone an offense that's now starting to catch fire a little bit.
I don't like the Cowboys at all, and I hope they get Brady in like the second round. And
you're going to see some of this. You're going to see some of this in the NFC Championship game, Tony. I'm telling you. This one also, similarly to the last one, Titans should do what they usually do to the Jaguars. Derrick Henry has like 1 million rushing yards in the Jaguars in his career. I think if you could put a whole 10-minute highlight reel of just Derrick Henry running over the Jaguars at this point.
Yeah, it's like remember I told you about my theory that Tom Brady has built a Hall of Fame resume on just AFC games, AFC games in his life. Like if I literally have gone out and compiled the stats. Tom Brady has a Hall of Fame resume for just games in the AFC East. And I think that you could probably make a case for what Derrick Henry has done to just teams like the Jaguars in the AFC South. This game, to me, would be a lot closer if I knew that Trevor Lawrence was going to be healthy. That injury that he took was one of those things. You know that I'm a little squeamish with seeing injuries and stuff like that. I couldn't watch it. I still don't know exactly how it ended, which way that he rolled. But when I saw him 5 minutes later jogging on the sidelines, and then this week it's listed as a toe injury, dude, how you hurt your toe when they bend you like Gumby? Like literally, like my daughter is less violent with stuffed animals than what happened to Trevor Lawrence on that play. And the dude is out there jogging around. It's got to be the hair. Like it just has to be that flowing mane that he has that kept him out of serious ligament and knee or whatever damage. I just watched him start to get bent over, turn my head, have not watched it. Saw the injury report, a big toe. This dude got turf toe and he was pretzeled? No.
The way that he went, like when it happened, he went straight to like grabbing his knee. I think he was reaching for his foot. Like at that moment, I was thinking the same thing as you. I was like, "Oh."
I would, if I were him, and that happened, I would put down in a cyanide capsule and taken my own life. I would have just been terrified that like everything was ruined.
Especially with how much he has on the line too.
It looked like he was going to be torn in half.
Yeah, that was
and then he was jogging, and I was like, "This."
It reminds me of Burrow's injury when Burrow got hurt his rookie year. Burrow kind of got twisted up in the pile like that. It was similar.
Again, another injury that I've seen the first part of it, but I can't watch the end. If I know what's coming, I will never go back and watch a player's injury just to see what happened. I can't physically. I can't handle it. It hurts.
Well, if someone's ring cam at that park, you know, there's a bunch of houses across the street from it. If someone's ring cam footage comes out of NFL Mike tearing his knee up, I'll be sure to send it to you, Tony.
I will not look at it.
Because even from a distance, that one's probably gonna look nasty. On to this one here. Everyone on the Cardinals? What happened to fade the Cardinals, Tony? What the hell?
Well,
we need this also. Me and you personally need to see this team just fall out the race.
Yeah, we do, but I'm not really worried. Again, I tell you this all the time. I don't root for other teams to lose until week 17, 18 of the season, where it's like, because if the team that I'm rooting for can't handle their own business, then they don't really belong there, and they're probably not going to win whatever. So I'll root at the end when they're like, here's the matchups, here's what your team needs to get in. Okay, I'll pay attention. Which is the Patriots organization is really starting to piss me off because the fans are like, well, we don't have a quarterback. You had Tom Brady for 2 decades. Bill Belichick might need to be fired because he does this bad or he does. Are you kidding me? If Bill Belichick decided to leave and he said, hey, I want to come to the Chargers, Mike, but I only come to the Chargers if I can be the GM and the head coach. Would you still take that?
Bill Belichick?
Yeah.
100%.
But he says, I want to be the GM and the coach.
Well, if he's adopting this roster, yes. If we're trying to rebuild, maybe no. Because he almost is like too much of a simpleton when it comes to players where sometimes you need the talent on the field, Bill. I know that you're great.
Mike, I disagree with that, Todd. Like, I think that just because the players don't become household names, that we don't, like, look at what the 2 rookie cornerbacks, they've played pretty well. Now, they've gotten burnt and torched and whatever it is. But, like, basically with rookie cornerbacks and Matthew Judon and maybe Christian Barmore on the defensive line when he's healthy, Duggar, like, they have some good players on defense that are out there playing, but it's not like they have a bunch of Pro Bowl players. The defense is way better than the Chargers defense.
No, I agree with you in that sense that I would want him here and he would improve our team a ton. I'm just saying that I feel like Bill Belichick sometimes handicaps himself with Cole Strange in the first round. You know what I mean?
Agreed. Cole Strange will make 2 Pro Bowls
probably
in the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, even playing this year.
Yeah, he's been inactive a few times. He's really been kicked while he's down. For sure. It doesn't matter. He'll figure it out, and he'll end up being, like, of decent value. I just look at it, and I'm like, this is really how you guys treat whatever's going on. I get that it's like, I get from the business side of it that you want to win, you want to be competitive, you're Robert Kraft or whatever, but the fans just being like, some of them being like, oh, Belichick's got to go. I'm like, what's wrong with you? Yeah. 6? You went to 9 Super Bowls, you won 6 of them, and you're like, if Bill Belichick said, I want to coach from a wheelchair, he should get to do whatever he wants for winning 6 Super Bowls with your team. Yeah. As a fan, you just accept it.
I'm going to steal your Tom Brady Hall of Fame just versus the East take because there's a lot of rumors that Brady would want to go back to New England if he's going to play one more year. And I think that would be a great TikTok. So thank you for that, Tony.
I have all the numbers and notes. I'll send them to you.
Oh, perfect. Even better.
I've already done the research. I tried to send it to you earlier in the year, but you were busy and you didn't.
Did you find someone to compare it to? I'll find someone in the Hall of Fame already to compare the stats to.
I have a few, but you can go on and you can get the ones that you need. And there's a couple in there. You'd be like, wait, this guy's in the Hall of Fame? Like, shit. His numbers against the AFC East are better than Dan Feld's career numbers.
Final game of the week here, and I just want to say, if anything, go to Twitter and check out the Navy and Army uniforms. This shit looks like a video game. Like, these uniforms are awesome. Anyways, the Jets on the road in Buffalo against the Buffalo Bills here. None of us giving the Jets the pick this week. I do think the Jets can hang in this game. Their defense can hang in this game, but I think that it's gonna get ugly towards the end of the game.
So this might be a game that I've already switched to the Panthers, and since I know that none of you guys are on the Jets again, I might switch to the Jets because the Jets are really good. Go ahead in a little bit here. The defense has somebody on the other side that plays like they do, and that's great news for them. They have somebody that's going to carry their end of the bargain. Now, he was unable to get into the end zone, but he was get in the end zone, but he was in the red zone a lot last week. I like Mike White as being good enough to get this Jets team combined with the defense to the playoffs. I think that they can beat the Bills this week. I lean at the end to the home crowd of Buffalo. That's where I ended up settling on a lot of this shit. Is like, how good is your home field advantage? And I think Buffalo has a really good home field advantage. So Buffalo takes
and it seems the colder it gets, the more that home field advantage is a play for the Buffalo Bills, even though the Jets play in the cold as well. It's just for some reason when that stadium gets snowy, that stadium gets cold, those Buffalo fans get turned up more. They got to stay warm somehow and start yelling at their opponents. But I feel the same way about this game that I do the San Fran Tampa game. Like, I feel like the Jets team can hang in this game, but I don't have any faith in Mike White. And last week, they were in that game against Minnesota, and I thought I was about to eat crow because I texted you guys and I went, the Jets are frauds or whatever I said. But at the end of the game, when it comes down to make it happen, he wasn't able to make it happen. And there were multiple times in that game where they avoided, like, by an inch, near disaster, where Mike White could have had 3 or 4 interceptions in that one.
Mike White is good enough and confident enough, right? Like, he's just good enough to be there where it's like, what are my options at QB? He could be my starter heading into 2023, right? Like, I think there is a long list of guys that are right on that line where it's like, what are my options? Like, that sort of Jared Goff or below. Like, right behind Jared Goff, I'd have like Taylor Heineke. I would start filing in Mike White's. I would file in Geno Smith. All of those. Can I surpass that? Because on the other side of Jared Goff, not too far ahead, is somebody like Derek Carr, where it's like, all right, Ryan Tannehill. We've seen these guys do enough things to where, like, will they carry you to a championship? Probably not, but you pair them with a good defense. That's why I think, like, Derek Carr is a perfect quarterback for the New York Jets. He's going to be able to get all those receivers the football when he needs it, but he's also going to be just fine handing it to Breece Hall and letting him go and trusting a magical defense.
The Raiders have known this for like 10 years, and they have never put together a defense for this kid. I mean, when they had Khalil Mack, that was some of the best Raider teams that Derek Carr was on. It was just showing that if they had a defense, they could have actually competed. This last little thing here, Joe made this for me. You never know. We still have just under 24 hours until kickoff. I could switch at any moment on any of these picks, and I think I'll change a few so that way that, Joe, who clearly is copying all my picks, doesn't get away with these crimes. But that's the end. That's all of them, Tony. We made it. Let's see the chat.
This is a great chat. James was new. Thank you. I think this is the first time I've seen top shoplifter here. Shoplifter.
I would love to see some more QB movement this offseason. The last couple off seasons have been really exciting, and I think that the excitement generated in the offseason by some of the moves has led into really good football during the year as well. So it's kind of working out for the league also, that guys like Tom Brady are making moves to Tampa, or guys like Lamar Jackson might be on the move this offseason, stuff like that. Last year,
I think Brady ends up, regardless, he's going to play more football. Brady's not going anywhere. He's now he's no wife. Like, Brady's going to play until he's probably 48, 49, 50 years old. Like, he'll go to San Francisco, I think will be my number one spot. And then if not, the Raiders.
Yeah.
Because there's no way that you can tell me that if Jimmy G's now out of the equation and will be a free agent. Yeah. Jimmy G will sign with one of those teams that needs a bridge quarterback while they're finding out who's going to be next. And he'll be that player there. But I would say my number one spot for Brady has been the 49ers since I saw the Jimmy G injury. If Jimmy G was going to take him to the Super Bowl, then you got yourself a real conundrum.
If he goes to the Raiders, these Raiders fans better keep their energy, man. They were so happy that they didn't get him a couple years ago when that news story broke. Like, we didn't want him anyways. He wouldn't have done nothing for us. I don't think they understand the effect of Tom Brady coming to your team. It's the same thing with Lakers fans who hate LeBron James. Like, all of the players that come during that guy's tenure on the team are because of that player.
Yeah, they do think that the Raiders one is so you have the familiarity with Josh McDaniels, right? But what you don't have is Trent Williams, and I forget I'm blank. Is it Mack, the center for the 49ers? And you don't have the built-in, like, sustained running game. I know that the Raiders have had success running the football with Josh Jacobs this year, but do we really think that is like that's moving forward? They're going to do this year in and year out, run for 1,800 yards. I think at this point in his career, Tom would love to be able to give the ball more to his his Leonard Fournette and Rashad White and stuff like that. He'd love to be throwing the ball 32 times a game, not 52 times a game at age 45. He'd like to keep the pass attempts under his current age.
Yeah.
So less than 45. But he's not.
San Francisco is the perfect landing spot for Brady. Brady can win more Super Bowls with San Francisco, I think. Sincerely. He's going to stay healthy. He knows how to stay healthy throughout the year. He has a run game to lean on, and he has weapons in the passing game to go to. He has the tight end like he had for all those years in New England. I mean, it is a match made in heaven. I didn't even mention the defense. It is a match made in heaven. They got to make the money work, but it would be perfect.
The times that he would audible Debo into mismatches, I feel like, right? It's when you have that player that's like Debo, and it's like you motion him to the backfield because you've noticed that they're doing like a safety blitz, and that side is just going to – and all he's going to have to do is Debo's going to have to run over one guy, and he's going to put him in these scenarios where his playmakers could dominate. It would be – I think the 49ers would be my Super Bowl pick if they brought in Tom Brady next year, and I think Kyle Shanahan will realize the same thing.
I think that Brady is like scot-free after this year too. Like he can walk. So they don't even have to trade for him, which means they'll trade Trey Lance and get picks and even add more depth. I mean, we'll see.
We'll see and you could see a scenario in which somebody like the Lions are saying like, hey, we have Jared Goff. Let's bring in Trey Lance, who has NFL experience, right? He's been coached by whatever. Let's bring him in here. We have a good offensive coordinator. Like, let's let him sit behind Jared Goff now for a season, and we'll trade. And we don't have to start from ground zero.
Brady's not done, Harrison. He's not coming to the Panthers.
No, Brady's never going to go away.
Well, what if the Niners got Lamar? I mean, that could be an option also. Then they're in the same boat they are with Lance, I feel like.
Omar, I have heard many Raiders fans talk shit about the idea of Brady. Many.
I'm glad that you're not one, though, Omar, because this is the right opinion. You want Tom Brady on your team, especially back then in that time, in that situation. Brady wasn't going to Tampa to, ride off into the sunset. He was going to Tampa to win Super Bowls, and he was bringing, like Deion Sanders said, his luggage with him. So if he would have went to Vegas, Gronk would have went to Vegas. I'm just saying. And Antonio Brown would have played in Vegas. Like, it would have all happened in Vegas instead.
Yeah, I don't know that Brown would have been back at that point, though.
They would have had to build the defense. That's all that would have happened, and the Raiders would be competitive. And I saw your Facebook messages, Rose. We're about to end the show right now.
Greetings, Earthlings. Thank you. Another great show. Zero and Harrison, Spike, Omar.
Weapons of past destruction.
Yeah. What a jam-packed show.
I know. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Go check out Navy Army game. I'll say it again. We appreciate you guys. That's our picks for this week. We're going to be live again tomorrow. Fantasy Football Wake Up Call. Be back here. 8 a.m. is when we're going to – 8:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. An hour and a half before kickoff to your NFL morning.
Yeah.
What's the channel? Let us know.
Go Army. Come on. Let's do it.
Whoa. Pause. Hold the phone. I love the Army's uniforms, though, in this game. I'm about to give them a shout-out on TikTok. We'll see you guys on the next one. Tony, any last qualms?
No. See you tomorrow morning. 8:30.
Knock, knock. Who's there? Baker fucking Mayfield.